No. What a dumb fucking question. No. So let me explain why. Here's why I think this opinion. Romance options in video games aren't really something that can. Romance options are usually always optional. That's why they're called options. They are optional. Well, I call them romance options because it's different ones. But having a romance option be canonical is ridiculous. And before I go any further, I know this seems like a random question, so let me back up and let me explain what gave me this idea. So one day I saw that like Screen Rant had like made like a post on their website, which I don't like Screen Rant. They make these weird ass. They have all these opinions that I disagree with, and I just find them ridiculous. They go to such lengths to kind of prove their points, and it's really really weird. But one of them I saw was that like Mass Effect 4 is being hinted at or something, or I don't know if it's actually being released, but it was being hinted at, and one of the things they mentioned was that the ending may be canonical, but a romance option may be a problem. Now, I don't think romance options should be canonical because there's, especially in a game like Mass Effect where there are like at least 12 different romance options. Hold on. There's 3 in the first game, there's 6 in the second. Yeah, at least 6 different, or at least 9 different romance options in the first game if we're not repeating the original 3 in the third game. Or if we're not counting the original 3 from the first game that can also be romanced in the third game. If we're not including that, then there are at least 6. So, and they did, somehow it was mentioned that like Liara was like, it wasn't direct, but I'm pretty sure that they're hinting at the fact that Liara is meant to be a canonical romance, which is understandable. I have heard a lot of people say that they love Liara. I don't know why I did air quotes. They love Liara, and it kind of makes sense. Kinda. But I don't know. But having canonical romance is pretty seems pretty forced, and it. I feel like if you canonicalize a romance option, you might as well have one, just one for each gender if that's something you're gonna do. Like for example, Cyberpunk has 2 different romance options, like endgame romance options per gender. Right? You have the homosexual and heterosexual options. Those are the 2 options you get for each gender. That's it. Now, I did mention that like which ending was canonical in a previous Cyberpunk video, not my previous, but in a Cyberpunk video I made, I talked about how canonical wise it all depends on your ending. So like for example, if Panam's ending is canonical, then the romance options would be Judy or Panam. If anything but Panam's ending is canonical, then you have River and Carrie. That's it. That's a weird screeching sound. Those are the 2 options, but Mass Effect has again at least 9 different romance options, which stretches further along the lines because in the first game you have Ashley and Liara for male, and then Kaden and Liara for female. And that's it. Second game you have Miranda. Did I say Miranda in the first game? You have Ashley Liara in the first game for female or for male, and then Kaden Liara for the female in the first game. Then you have Miranda, Tali, and Jack for the male in the second game, and then Jacob, Garrus, and Thane for the second, or for the female in the second game. And then you have Kelly, Samara, and Morinth. I don't count Morinth as a romance option because she can kill you, so you have Kelly and Samara. Although I guess Kelly would count more because Samara is just like a one-time hookup. Like, you kiss if you have the Citadel DLC, and then that's it. That's all there is. But Kelly kind of shows up like endgame, kinda. Like if you destroy the Reaper, she shows up in a flashback. That's about it. But yeah, so and then in the third game you have Miranda, Tali, Jack. If you started the relationship in Mass Effect 2, and then Ashley and then Steve. So that's 5 romance options for the male, and then you have Garrus, Thane, and some. You have Garrus and Thane if you started the romance from the second game, it transported over to here, and then you have Samantha, which is a new one in Mass Effect 3. And so that's 3 options there. So far we're looking at 6, 7. Hold on, 6. No, we're still looking at 6 here. Hold on, 6, 7, 8. So we're looking at 8 so far. Okay, well, 10, because we're including Samara and Kelly in this list. Although they're not endgame, so I won't count those. So yeah, 8. And then you have, for, like, non-gender specific, you have Kaden, Liara, Kelly, and Diana. So that's, like, 4 there, but no new ones. So that's about it. So you have, like, 8 total different romance options. So of those 8, one of them would have to be canonical, dismissing the other 7. Sure, I guess. Now and the reason I find this weird is because Mass Effect is a bit different. Mass Effect is a bit different because, like I mentioned before, Miranda, Tali, Jack, Garrus, and Thane are Mass Effect 3 romance options, but only if you started a romance with them from the previous game. But, so, that means that your romance could be canonical for the story as long as it's transported over from the previous game. But, if for some reason Liara, again, let's say for this purpose, Liara is now a canonical romance. What would be the point of romancing Ashley, Kaden, and the rest of the other 8, the rest of these other 7, if one person is now all of a sudden canonical? If you're trying to stay true to the game, maybe, but there also begs a question of, is gender still specific? I don't think gender should be canonical, because, well, unless it's like on games where it's like you can choose your gender, but other than that, I don't know. But having that much romance options and then having a canonical romance just seems ridiculous. You can kind of try and build a story based around your romance options. For example, like Tali or Miranda try and look for Shepard or something, and then Jack is, I don't know. You can try and build a story around that, but a canonical romance should not be a thing. Just because, and again, just because a lot of these games have like so many romance options that it would just be strange to have all these. Like Fallout 4 has, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we're not counting DLCs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am missing one. 7. Around 7. Yeah, 7 different romance options. So there's that, and if one of them is canonical, then boom, you don't need the other 6. If for some reason Piper is the canonical romance. If Piper ended up being the canonical romance, then what's the point of romancing Preston or Dance or Kate, you know? Like, there's no reason to have a canonical romance because you wouldn't need them. I'm just repeating myself. I have no idea why. But that does beg the question of when should a game be or have a canonical romance. And I would say that depends on if they have sort of the Ashley Caden situation from Mass Effect 1. For some of you guys who don't know, the Caden Ashley situation is that Caden and Ashley are both romance options from the first game. After a certain time, or during a certain point, you have to sacrifice one of them to keep the other. In this case, if you're romancing Ashley, you have to save Ashley, and then Caden dies, and then vice versa. You romance Caden, you have to save Caden, leaving Ashley to die. I would say that would be the only if that is it. If you have more than one romance option, or if you have, but that leaves gender specifics. But it could also work if you do that same situation, but you're able to romance both of them, but then sacrifice one. Now, keep in mind, with Mass Effect, your romance isn't finalized until after the sacrifice. I say sacrifice like it's some ritual. What I mean by that is like, so if you romance Ashley, you save Ashley. That doesn't really confirm that you're 100% through with, or that you 100% romanced Ashley. Or before you get there, you're not 100% confirmed to romance Ashley until you have to pick the sacrifice, in this case Caden, to die, meaning save Ashley. That would be the only time is if you save one person, then they move on and you can romance them. That would be the only time I would say a romance is canonical. That, or they just hand it to you. 100% without a doubt. Like if Mass Effect just handed you Liara and was like, here, this is it. That would be the only time I would say that something like that is canonical. But other than that, romances shouldn't really be canonical because it just ruins. Because they add emotion to some of these characters. Like, for example, Jack, if you romance Jack and you do the whole Citadel DLC, she gives you a tattoo, and then she's like, just so if I ever find you ass deep in this war in a pile of rubber, I'll be able to find you. So she's like so like upset that this is what's going on. And they make it so emotional that like it would just seem useless to make them all emotional, and then boom, Liara is the romance option, is the canonical one. And I understand where they're coming from because of all of the possible Mass Effect 1 options, Liara is the only one to stay from beginning to end without a choice. If you're a good person, there was a way to like minimize it to I think 3 people alive from the crew, which I think is Samantha, Edie, and Joker. That's from what I saw. But if you kind of play the game correctly, quote unquote, then Liara is the only one that stays beginning to end. So I understand where they're coming from. Plus, if you have Legendary Edition, she also shows up in all 3 of the games. Some romance options are hinted later. Like if you romance Caden, you'd see the photo of him whenever you head to the collector base in Mass Effect 2. But other than that, with that, and you also see him on Horizon. But that's about it. So, and the fact that they made a whole DLC around Liara makes the most sense as to why Liara would be canonical. But making a canonical romance isn't a thing that should happen. Especially with a game like Mass Effect, where they would have to, if they do whatever, they're probably gonna sideline people like Miranda, Jack, and Tali like they did for Miranda and Jack in the third game. That's probably what's gonna happen. They did it in Mass Effect 3. They'll do it in this one if the romance options are not canonical. But that also kind of adds on to the thing of like whenever you can import previous saves, like all the stuff all the choices you made in Mass Effect 1. If you import that character, it affects Mass Effect 2, and then if you finish Mass Effect 2, all your choices affect Mass Effect 3, and that's probably what would happen in Mass Effect 4. I'm not sure if it's confirmed to being made. I'm not huge into the video game scene. I just play video games and talk about them, but I'm not that huge where I go to like E3 conventions because I can't. But with some of these, I just feel like if they do the thing, oh, I spit something. That is gross. If they do end up kind of importing stuff from Mass Effect 3 over into Mass Effect 4, that's going to be a lot of work because that's 3 games of information that they have to pile on into this. They have to work through the whole romance things, which is possible to not have. And I learned that a lot of people love Liara a lot more than I... No, not a lot more than I thought, but whatever. But that'll be a lot of work they would need to do. But yeah, long story short, romance options shouldn't be canonical because of the fact that there's so many of them out there. And if you get emotionally attached to one of them, and you want to kind of keep the story proper, like if Liara was now like a confirmed romance option and you got attached to someone like Miranda or Ashley, well then now you have to give up those feelings for Liara to keep the story going. Because that's how it is. That's how they made it. Now, I doubt that they would make a romance option canonical because again, 8 different romance options. Are you fucking kidding me? Plus, I think... By the way, I find the whole Jacob Taylor romancing to be pretty ridiculous. I don't get why he would cheat on you. They made it to where he was romanceable in the first game, but not the second game because... He made it romanceable in the second game, but not the third game because he cheats on you. For some reason. But hey, at least if you romance Miranda, you get to keep her. So there's that. Yeah, I'm gonna end this video before it gets to 20 minutes. Just talking about the same thing for 20 minutes. When I should have ended this video almost 10 minutes ago. But whatever. Anyways, let me know what you thought and what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think romance options should be canonical? And if not, or if you think they should, let me know why. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like. Make sure to leave a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification if you do subscribe to be notified when I upload because I don't have a schedule. Losing Maniac out.